will enjoy.
Okay, today is Thursday,
Thursday.
January the 26th, and you all have already kind of caught us, already in the process of talking about the lesson and the lessons and how to do them. So let's kind of just go back over what we've talked about after, let's say a prayer, and then we'll just kind of, catch everybody up on where we are and what we've already had a discussion about.
Okay.
So go ahead, Sakina, take it away.
Okay, let's become still for a moment. Sit up nice and tall, straight back. Feel your head reaching up into the cosmos, into the universe, and your feet going down into the center of the earth. Allow your breath to flow in and through you. And just be aware that everything you hear, see, say, or do is helping you and aiding you to bring out the best that you are, to bring out your highest good. And as we go through the lessons today, allow yourself to be open and receptive to what feels right to you. And know that it's through our sharing with each other that we also grow. And on that note, we say, let it be so. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Well, to kind of catch everybody up, we were talking about incorporating and applying the practices that have been given so far in the book. And how to do it into our daily lives. We can all have suggestions on how each of us do it, but each of us has to find what works for us. Penelope has mentioned about the meditation that she does from 12 to 12:30 each day. And Harriet mentioned about setting a notification on her phone to help her with some of the things that she is incorporating and trying to learn. And I mentioned some of the things and ways that I've done it, from washing your hair in the shower to washing your face to doing dishes. But one point that we were getting to that I was going to mention about the first time I read this book, where Mr. Vior mentions about using the term we instead of I, like everyone else who has read it, had found it difficult at first. And that's when I began to invite spirit to go wherever I was going, because then when I would say we, I was talking about me and spirit. And that helped me to stop using I, although I still do at times. And as you know, any of you who have been around with me know I do use that. But that's one way to help with the we, is to see it as you and spirit, the spirit within you, the God within you. That makes a we as opposed to an I.
Well,
So that's just a couple of things, but I think that kind of catches us up. Go ahead, Harriet.
I know I was going to say with the we I situation, I didn't find it that difficult to make that transition, because what we would do, I would, if I'm reading something, like some type of book, in the first part, and the writer is narrating in first person, instead of using the first person of whatever pronoun is being used, I will just substitute the plural for that particular. In other words, if she's saying me, I'll say mine, or I'm sorry, I'll say me, ours, yeah. And that's what I found. Now, when I mentioned the notification on my phone to remind me to, pause a moment, that is specifically for the exercises in the workbook for from the Course in Miracles. Now, with the needle thing, are we limited as to how many times a day we can do it? Or can we do it whenever we think about it or we see it, kind of thing? Because with that, it says, I think the time frame is 10 minutes. So should we, because I kind of, like I said, I just kind of do it when I see it. And
But it can be done, I think, and feel whenever you feel moved to do it.
mhm,
Sometimes putting a time limit on something gets in the way, I feel, of being spontaneity, being spontaneous, following that inner guidance,
mhm.
following that inner guidance, because sometimes we get in the way of ourselves. We think, oh, I got 10 minutes. Let me do this for 10 minutes. And then we begin to watch the clock. Or think, gee, it's
Well,
10 minutes past. And then we look to see, and oh, no, it hasn't. Or, oh, I'm way over time. That type of thing. So to me, both ways are fine. You have to find what works best for you
okay.
and getting in touch with who you are. And that's also getting to know yourself.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to begin on lesson 6?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Lesson 6. It is necessary that you have 3 things in life: food, clothing, and shelter. We should not be hungry. We need to eat. We should not be poorly dressed. It is necessary to dress well. It is not fair to live our entire life paying rent for an apartment. We need to have a good house that is our own. Reflect on all this. It is urgent for you to comprehend the need to live better without falling into the sin of covetousness. It is in our precious lesson, we said that it is necessary to distinguish between necessity and covetousness or covetousness. It is necessary to know where necessity ends and where covetousness begins. Any comments there? You need to learn how to make a good impression on other people. This is a very delicate art. Many ladies dress very well, sometimes with excessive luxury, and wear very valuable rings on their hands, and yet, in spite of everything, they do not make a good impression on others. Many gentlemen wear very expensive suits and drive the latest model cars, and yet they fail many times for not knowing how to make a good impression on people. The president of Colombia, Dr. Olaya Herrera, controlled his people with his eternal smile. Every smile of the president represented millions of dollars. We men know that the smile of a woman is worth more to us than all the furs and diamonds that they wear. A woman with a captivating smile makes great impressions on men. The smile of sincerity and the perfume of courtesy achieve true miracles in the business world. It is urgent to distinguish between the smile of sincerity and the mechanical smile. The smile of sincerity comes from the very bottom of the soul. The mechanical smile is hypocritical, and tenebrous. It is the grimace of the devil. In man, there are two factors in disagreement, the soul and the devil. The soul is divine. The devil is malevolent. Every good action is of the soul. Every bad action is of the devil. When you knock on a door so that it will be opened, the head of the house can ask you many times, "Who is it?" Then you answer, "I." I, this myself, is precisely the devil in us. Clairvoyants see this I like a very horrible fluid entity that lives within the human body. This entity also leaves the body during sleep and travels very far, wherever it is taken by its desires and passions. The soul is not the I, the soul is the being. Distinguish between the being and the I. The being is the soul, the I is Satan within us. Any comments?
Um, hmm. Um, I'm just looking at that because, I mean, you know, he initially tells us to, I don't see the I as necessarily being evil, the way he describes it. Maybe a little arrogant.
Egotistical?
Yeah, but it we are all humans. We all err from time to time. And with all of the things that I have been reading dealing with spirituality, I find that, and a lot of religions, even throughout this, they talk about God as being evil or angry and taking revenge on his creations. I don't see that.
No.
I'm
I
sorry.
agree with you. That's right. I agree with you, Harriet. In fact, in reading this, I've read this several times, and this is the one thing I disagree with a great deal, because I see one power, and that is the power of God. I do not see the devil. I see, and when I come across that, I want to say the ego, because many times people who have a strong ego do some things just for their own gratification, their own ego, and they lose sight of the beauty within their own being, within their own self. And so therefore, to me, I don't particularly care for the use of the word devil or Satan, because to me, that's an adverse power to God. Whereas I see that if God is the creator of all of this, sure, you know, he might make you, he might make me, he might make somebody else, and we all have different attributes, and we all have different traits. We all look a little different. But to me, that's because God is showing that creation is unlimited. And when we create or do something, it's unlimited. We don't have to allow our ego to get in the way of it. If we don't particularly like a drawing, you know, we can change it by erasing it or discard it and start all over. And in a sense, that's what this power, this divine power of God, I think has done, and why there are so many of us, because it's showing that God is unlimited and that each of us is created in that image, but it's an unlimited image. And therefore, we don't need our ego to get in the way of it. You know, we don't need to necessarily be better than somebody else. We need to be the best we can be.
And we shouldn't could
And
be
know that we're
competing
doing
with
the best.
anybody but ourselves.
Right on. And so that's, you know, what I kind of saw here. Penelope, do you have anything that maybe you saw that
Well,
to add or to
yeah, well,
share?
for me, for me, I don't have a problem with Satan or the devil, in its perspective place and its perspective designation. I think we all understand that because we have a balance here, there are some gauge that holds the balance of the darkness, of ignorance, of negativity. Some people enjoy the dark, so they will see that as, and that has a feeling, that has a sensation, around it. So, so it does feel like an entity. So so anyone who is really sensitive to that degree, I think that they will feel it, and because it is a palpable thing to feel. Now we all, of course, we have a choice. We don't have to choose the darkness. We don't have to choose the light. But I still think that there are some individuals, and when I say individual, I mean all the way down to animals and the world itself. There's something that is filled more with one balance, on one like dark, and one is light. One is more filled with light. And I think that when we have more feeling of one thing, we will gravitate to that one thing. But I think that those are the things that hold on to that balance. And so that's why, when somebody says Satan, I understand that they're talking about negativity, ignorance, darkness, doubt, fear. I understand that that's what they mean. They don't mean like, something with horns and a tail and a pitchfork, but they are talking about the palpable energy that is either light or darkness. When you come into a room full of light people, there is a thing that you feel. You as soon as you walk into the door, everything is like, and same thing with darkness. Now, me personally, I don't like the feeling of a whole lot of darkness, although I can stand some. But I also choose to to be where I choose to be in the light, to move forward in the light. So, but I don't have a problem with Satan. I don't have a problem with Satan. I don't have a problem with somebody saying God.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing to me.
Okay, ready to move on? Let me start again. Your body neither thinks nor desires. The body is only a suit, a robe. You think with the mind, and the mind is a vehicle of the soul. However, when we are evil, the mind becomes a vehicle of the devil. The diabolic mind wants wars, creates conflicts, problems, wants, vices, alcoholic drinks, adulteries, fornication, covetousness, hypocrisy, etc. And that goes along with what you were saying, Penelope, I think.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. The bee enjoys working. The ant is happy working. Learn to enjoy and derive pleasure from your job. When a storm employee enjoys his work, he radiates mental waves of success and progress. Then the sales increase and the employer is happy with his employee and does not want him to leave. Be concerned about the success of the business where you work. It is necessary that you earn your employer's affection. Learn to smile sincerely. Learn to enjoy work. If you want people to feel happy with you, it is necessary that you feel happy with others. If you do not feel happy with your job, if you do not feel like smiling, we advise you to listen to good music. Remember that music does miracles. So in this way, you will also be able to change your character. When we listen to good music, when we spend long intervals absorbed in listening to good music, we elevate our mind to higher levels of consciousness. And I think that holds true also with being around people that we feel very comfortable with and feel the light coming from them. Anyone
Yeah,
else?
Several points I think need to be emphasized here. First of all, when he's talking about work, I have always told my children, because it has always worked for me. If I'm in a job and I go to the job, I'm excited about it. I'm brand new on the job. I'm excited about it. I look forward to getting to know the people that I'll be working with or close to. But as time progresses, perhaps what I'm doing could get a little boring. And when it starts to get boring, I'm looking around, well, where can I go next? Because when it gets boring, you're not putting your heart and soul into it. And that's what I think is the important thing, to put your heart and soul into whatever it is you're doing, if you enjoy it, if you enjoy doing what you're doing, if you're learning, as long as you're learning. And I have always told my sons, don't look for a career or a job or whatever because of the amount of money you can earn. Because I say, if you love what you do, the money will come.
Not only that, two things. One, my dad used to always say, do what you love. Because if you're doing what you love, you won't work a day in your life. And what he meant by that was, if you love your job, you stay with it and you don't feel like you're working.
And that is so true. That is so true. Because I wrote to a friend of mine that lives in Pennsylvania, and we worked together. We were co-workers and then we became friends. And I wrote to her after I came to Virginia and went to work at Colonial Williamsburg. I wrote back to her, I said, I get dressed up in funny clothes every day and I go out to play and get paid for it.
Yeah. Along the lines of boring, when you're working and you begin to feel bored or you begin to feel a little bit dismayed with your job, that's your inner guide telling you it's time to move on.
Exactly.
And the longer you stay where you're bored, just because you've been there a long time, you like the people, but you don't like the work, you know, you like the money, but you're not happy, you need to listen to the inner guide that's telling you it's time to move on. Because
that's why so many people develop illnesses or diseases. They don't like their job. It's a struggle for them to get up in the morning and get ready to go to that job. And the longer they do it, the worse they feel. And eventually they come down with some type of illness or disease.
Right. So it's important when you are working that you maintain a sense of, I'm a light being, I'm the light here, but let me know when it's time for me to move on. Give me that little nudge. Because also when we do move on, there's always somebody that's going to take our place where we're leaving, who maybe wants that. And as we move on, we may not necessarily move on to a higher paying job, but we may move on to something that we love doing much more.
Mhm.
And that's important.
And the other
Okay.
thing, it talks about music. And sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, if it's some type of routine chore or something, I make it more enjoyable by listening to certain kinds of music. And it all depends on the mood that I'm in as to the type of music that I listen to. I love jazz. And there are times when classical music is more, to me, is more relaxing. And then there are other times when I listen to plain old rock and roll, R&B, you know, I love them all. Bluegrass, I love it. I mean, I love them all.
Yeah,
And the different styles of music or genres of music, they fit, you know, they have their place.
yeah.
Well, I was
Okay.
just, I was
Go
trying
ahead.
to chime in with the job. Because I worked on my job 10 years too long. I hated my job. I hated everything about my job, except for the people. I love the people that I work with. I'm still friends with most of them today, you know. So, but the job itself, and yes, I did, I did get a disability. You know, I do have a chronic disease. You know, however, on the flip side of that, and there's always a flip side, you know, like I said, I got lifelong friends out of that. I have, you know, I'm on disability. I've been on disability for 12 years. So, you know, that job pays me in a way, you know. I have, you know, and I have that, I have the sense of when something is, I know how to stick it out. You know what I'm saying? I just know how to, I just know how to stick it out. You know, I know that this is the hook, you know, that's got me reeled in. It's, you know, whether like you said, whether it's money or whatever the situation is, it's got me hooked right here. But also I can see my way through, you know, regardless of this, because, you know, I'm still free one way or the other. I'm still free.
Yeah. Well,
Can
a
I
lot of,
just insert something? You said you didn't like your job, but I
hate it.
would
No,
never.
I didn't say I didn't like my job. I said I hate it. With a
But you
getting up
were
first thing in the
very good.
morning.
You
Huh?
were very good at hiding it, because I remember that cheerful voice on the other end of the phone when I opened up a
But
building.
I love the people. That's what I said. I love the people. I hated the job. I hated the work that I did. It was
But-
accusatory. It was, you know, it was just all across the board. I hated the work that I did. And, you know, like I said, but I like the people. I like the people. People got me through.
Well,
People like you got me through.
well,
Got me through that job.
I taught school for 15 years as a special ed teacher, and I
Mhm.
was beginning to feel burned out. And I said, you know, God, I love teaching, but I'm feeling burned out. And then they were going to start using computers. And at that time, I got nosebleeds real bad when I was around computers, fluorescent lights, a bunch of stuff. And I remember going to the principal's office and telling her that I did not want to have to use the computers because of this. And she gave me a little bit of a hard time and I said, I'm going to have to leave teaching. I said, because I'm just not going to use the computer. I don't want to do this stuff on the computer. So I did not renew my contract. And that very day I came home and there was a letter, because I'd asked God for guidance. Anyway, and there was a letter from the University of Metaphysics. And I opened it up and it was offering the ministers course. And I took it as a sign that God was telling me, leave teaching and do this. And I ended up, getting a scholarship. And had I not done that, Penelope, you and I would never have met. But it was a way of the reason I'm sharing that is because you have to be open and receptive to those signs. And when like you say, you stayed because of liking the people, but then you did develop some physical challenges, because of the, with the disability or whatever it was. But each one of us has had that opportunity of being in a position where we either hated what we were doing, didn't like what we were doing, and decided to make that change to move on to something else, whether it was becoming a minister, going and having a different job, like Harriet, you were mentioning the job you ended up loving and that. So it's important that we keep ourselves open and know that the Creator is always talking to us, is always moving us.
Are you saying that, let me ask, are you saying that one is better than another?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is it's important for us to be open and receptive to the idea of when we're working at something and we begin to dislike what we're doing, we begin to hate what we're doing, we begin to find it, like I was finding that using the computer a nuisance, because every time I used it, I'd get nosebleeds and I'd have to tell my students, I'll be right back. You're on your honor, be good, and I'll be right back, because I couldn't take, my nose would just bleed all over and that. So I was finding it a nuisance.
I
when
understand.
Happen, it's time to move on. It's the universe telling you it's time to move on, to find something different.
But okay, so that's why I'm asking you, are you saying that one is better than the other? You're saying that one is better than, it is better to be open than it is better to stay in a job where you hate? Because I mean,
I agree because
but all I'm saying is we're both here together now. We're both here together now. So that's what I'm saying. I can't say that one aspect is
right
better.
For you.
That's what I'm saying for me. That's what I'm saying for me. I can't say that one thing is better than the other thing, because my hating my job for 10 years, I benefited from it. I mean, it didn't hurt me at all.
And that's how you see it. That's good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why I asked you, are you saying that one is better than the other?
Well, for me, I would not have done what you did. I would not stay.
So that's what it is. That's what I'm
saying. You have to figure what's good for you. For me, I left a $30,000 job to teach and become self-employed, where I was making $4,000 a year.
Right.
So and that was a big cut. That was,
But that was your choice. I mean, you did that.
Right. That was my choice. And I'm also saying that same day I had a letter that got me into the ministry. Okay. So I'm saying that's how God worked with me. I could have stayed and put up with the nose.
Okay, but are you understanding that I understand that?
I'm understanding what you're saying.
But I'm just also saying, God got me through here too. God got me through.
Yeah.
So I mean, it works whether you're in the light or whether wherever you are. If you however you do it works for you, and that's the way that I can and don't want to do it your way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm saying
I did not want to quit my job that was keeping my house paid for, that, you know, if I would have gotten from that, if I would have quit that job that day, you know, because I got an urge to, I would be homeless. I would probably have something else, but that's what I'm saying. You know,
That
okay,
was,
I get it. Go ahead.
what I'm saying is each of us has to do what feels right for us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I did not lose my house or become homeless because I told God, you need to do, you know, if this is what you want me to do, you want me to go into the ministry and be self-employed, I'm taking a $26,000 cut.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
house. How do I
Right.
do this?
Mhm.
And God opened those doors. Okay.
Were you
Just
still
like
married at the time? Were you still
Pardon
married
me?
at the time? Were you married at the
Yeah,
time?
I was married,
Okay, so
and between
you
but
had some support.
well,
You had
my
some support.
husband,
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not
I'm
trying
glad
to
you took a
win this.
$26,000
I'm not
cut.
trying to win this, but I don't want to lose it either. You know,
No, I know.
we're saying the same exact thing.
Right.
I think that your way was better for you when you did it.
Right.
And I think that my way was better for me when I did it. Whether I did it hating it all the way, I still came out into the same place. I love God just as much as I have always. And I know that God got me through each and every one of those times. He
Well,
got me through. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm
You
pointing
win,
out
you
is,
win, Sakina, you
no,
win.
I'm not
You
trying
win.
to win.
No, this has, for me, this is turning into a contest.
No, it's not. You're making it a
But I'm saying for me, it is. For
okay. That's
me,
what I'm
it's
saying.
turning.
That's why I'm saying each of us has to find what works for us. Okay, we ready to go on?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, the mind radiates waves that travel through space, and these waves pass from one brain to the next. A proof of the reality of these waves is found in telepathy. Many times when we walk on the street and all of a sudden the memory of someone strikes us, it so happens that we meet the very person we remembered. That is telepathy. We attract that person's mental waves, and at the same time, they reach us. We have an authentic wireless system in our organism. The pineal gland, situated in the inferior part of the brain, is the thought transmitting center, and the solar plexus, situated in the umbilical region, is the receptive antenna. The pineal gland is the seat of the soul, the window of Brahma, through which the soul enters and leaves the body. The pineal gland is a small reddish gray organ. This gland secretes a hormone that regulates the development of the sexual organs. After maturity, this gland degenerates into a non-secreting fibrous tissue. The pineal gland is the jigsaw puzzle of the wise, the thought transmitting center. This gland is developed in the great geniuses of science, art, philosophy, etc., and it is totally atrophied in idiots. Great businessmen and individuals who usually have great success in their business commonly have this gland well developed. The pineal gland is intimately related to the sexual organs. The strength of the pineal gland depends on sexual strength. The man or woman who foolishly wastes his or her sexual energy fails in business because their pineal gland becomes atrophied. A weakened pineal gland cannot forcefully radiate mental waves. The result is failure. Be prudent. Do not waste your sexual energies foolishly. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not commit fornication." Fulfill the sixth commandment. Save your sexual energies, and in this way you will fortify your pineal gland and inevitably succeed. In this manner, you will be able to radiate your mental waves with strength, power, and glory. These mental waves, after having arrived at the receptive center, the solar plexus, of other people who come in contact with you, will give you the success that you seek. Be triumphant. Always smile, full of sincerity. Live happily. Work with pleasure, and the world will be yours. Luck will smile on you from everywhere. I do have a comment here because, Penelope, you came to my mind as I was reading it. You, although you hated what you did, you worked with pleasure. And that's the important thing to remember there on any of the jobs that we might be doing. And that is sometimes why people stay.
Sometimes they stay out of fear. Fear of not being able to find another job that's going to pay them as much or more than what they're earning at the present job. Sometimes it's just the fear of change itself.
Well, and that's, he ends here with the this last sentence: to be triumphant, always smile, full of sincerity, live happily, work with pleasure, and the world will be yours. And I think that's with whatever we do, even if it's cleaning that toilet bowl, do it with pleasure. You know, if we're preparing the same meal, you know, do everything we do with the idea of pleasure, that we're giving it light, we're sending it love and energy. Any other comments?
Well, one of the things that he had talked about here was the pineal gland. And I think that it's really, I mean, it's so amazing, this body that we have. This body is really, really amazing. And although I know this, you know, there's, you know, and I don't operate it properly, you know. You know, I have a lot of knowledge, but I'm still not operating this body properly, you know. But this body is amazing. It has devices in it that keep us alive, so that we can be a part of and join and join in with our environment, with everybody else, how we are all so intermeshed. And well, anyway, before I get too deep into that rabbit hole, I'll just start talking about, I'll start talking about the pineal gland a little bit, you know. And it's good that he brought this up. I mean, the pineal gland does a lot of things. You know, it secretes the melatonin, and the pineal gland does a lot. Not only just for the sexuality, but I'm glad. And this book was written in the copyright was 1961. So him talking about sexuality in the way that he did, that's really kind of like a big deal. And you know, I understand that, you know, because he said some other things like how a woman's smile is the only thing that a man really wants to have, and okay. That's something. But I think that that when we realize that our sacral chakra, the energy that the energy that it provides, that it expands creation everywhere there is, you know. And so when we're thinking about sexuality in terms of how to bring something into manifestation, how to expand out into your environment, all the things that will that also shows and creates energy, because you're absorbing it and interacting it with everybody else that's around all the time. So I really think that this is really big, especially at this point in time in the 60s, when, you know, things were, you know, you still had a girdle on and some garters attached to your, men still wore jackets in the summertime, you know. So I think that this is really a very mature way of looking at the body, the physical body, and how it, you know, responds to the ethereal body.
Mhm. Okay. The practice that he gives here says, in front of a mirror, contemplate your face closely and then pray in this manner. My soul, you should succeed. My soul, you should overcome Satan. My soul, take over my mind, my sentiments, my life. You should keep the guardian of the threshold far away from me. You should overcome him. You should take power over me totally. Amen, amen, amen. Say this prayer 7 times and then observe in the mirror your eyes, your pupils, the center of your pupils, the retina of your eyes, and imagine them charged with light, strength, and power. It is necessary that you try to mentally penetrate the interior of your eyes reflected in the mirror. It is necessary for you to try to see with your imagination the center of those reflected eyes, the beauty of your soul. It is necessary for you to exclaim, saying, "Oh, my soul, I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to see you." Intensely persevere daily with this exercise. Do your exercise every night before going to sleep. With this exercise, you will develop clairvoyance. Practice for 10 minutes daily. That is all. Any comments?
Well, you know, I think that this prayer and this practice, because I'm trying to, because, you know, I still do the one with the needle. That's my favorite one. You know, my favorite one is the one with the needle. Another, you know, my other favorite one, of course, is oh man, I can't even think of the word now. Criticism. My other thing is criticism. And the third thing that I like in this is that, you know, the whole sense of the word we, you know. So these are the things that I work from. And when, you know, when you see the balance, like you know, it was, yeah, I had to look this up, what he meant by you should keep the guardian of the threshold. You know, I had to look, I look at those little small letters, and he was saying that, you know, that's our internal beast, you know. So, you know, so I probably would have to rearrange the words in the prayer. You know, they just don't kind of flow for me. You know,
You have to make it yours.
Yeah, I would have to probably rearrange, but I think that this one is this one might be a good one to do right before you fall asleep, you know, where you can, you know, so that you know, right, but you know, so that you can really center on, like you center on your pupils, you know. So I can really see how this one will be. It can go along with that closing out of the nighttime. Yeah. But I would definitely have to rearrange the words. Or do you do this one, Sakina?
Not exactly the same way. I do a Sufi way, which is to gaze into the mirror, looking at your eyes and seeing the power of God within and your higher self, your soul, because the eyes are the windows of the soul, so they say. And just staring and looking into the eyes. I don't really necessarily say any words with it because that would take my mind off of seeing my eyes, because I would start to think, oh, what's the next word, you know, trying to memorize or trying to read. So my Sufi guide said that staring in the mirror at your eyes, because if we're created in God's image and likeness, that being exists within us. If we get beyond our physical, as you look into your eyes, you know, you do see, when you first start doing it, you do see your forehead, your nose, but then you want to eventually pull into just seeing just your eyes. And it does take some time. I've never really timed myself in doing it. But I do it in the morning rather than at night, because I do the star, the one where you're displayed and you're saying the prayer asking for help and enlightenment. I do that one at night. But this one, I mean, I've done it, you know, just basically just staring into those eyes. And that's basically how I do it. Just like right now, as I'm looking into your eyes, Penelope, as you had your eyes open, they became very like beams, as opposed to just seeing just your eyes. It was like seeing beams of light. Now, whether you were trying to see that or not, I don't know, but that's, as I was looking at your eyes, that's what I was seeing, just beams of light coming from your eyes. And Harriet, I haven't done it as much with you because right now I'm talking about with Penelope, but your whole face sort of disappears and it's just these beams of light coming out of you.
Have you noticed when you first started doing this, and after a time, did you notice any kind of change or openness? I don't know what word to use, but did you notice a difference? I guess is
Yes.
the best way I can.
People would be trying, and all of a sudden people in the middle of a conversation would say, oh, your eyes. There's something about your eyes. And at first, you know, I thought, you know, they're just eyes. But then I began to think, I was doing it in the morning, like I said, and when I would go out, maybe that's what they were seeing. Just like I was saying with Penelope. Now, when we were talking earlier, and then now her face was up there, and I was looking at her eyes as we were talking, and they just became these beams of light that her face sort of disappeared, and it was just these beams of light coming out of her. Beautiful light that I see. Now, Harriet, you have yours closed, so I'm not able to see yours. You took your glasses off, and see, I use my glasses for reading, but when I got my cataract surgery and no longer had to wear, I felt like I was no longer hidden behind my glasses. I kind of thought they were hiding me from spirit. Now, but that's just all psychological. But that's how I felt. And in the past, Harriet, when we've talked, you always kept your glasses on. And so I was able to see where now you've got your eyes sort of half open and half closed. All right. Where Penelope, when I was looking at her eyes were fully open. They were open nice and wide. And then now you have yours open wider. And you're going to find as you do it, you're going to begin to notice some changes in yourself. Let's see, now Penelope put her glasses back on.
Oh, yeah. I need them to see. Y'all just need y'all glasses to read. I need mine to see. So Sakina, you know, how many of these lessons do you from this book that you work on, kind of regularly, or you have, or do you have a favorite one that you have always done?
Well, what I've done is I no longer, to the best of my ability, I mean, I'm human too, so don't, but to the best of my ability, I try not to criticize. Even my great granddaughter, I try not to criticize when she does something. And that using we, gradually, that one's taking me a while. I'm gradually getting a little bit better at that, but that takes a little more concentration in maintaining that. I do the Chagall breathing practice. I don't get into where they were describing the touch was. I don't get into that.
What was the Chagall breathing practice? What was
Chagall
that
breathing practice
The
was
one
where
with the fingers in
one?
the
Oh, okay,
ears.
okay,
the
okay.
ear,
Right.
fingers
Okay,
like that.
okay.
And I usually do that at night before
Uh-huh.
bed. I do the prayer where you lay on your back, arms out to the sides, feet, legs are stretched out, they're splayed out. So you're like a star, 5-pointed star. And I do say, you, my higher self, my internal God, help me, make me understand what my defects are, and help me to comprehend them, and to get rid. I don't remember the word, but I usually say get rid of them. And enlighten.
Is that one ahead?
That was one of last week's.
Last week?
Yeah, it's on
Oh,
page.
I didn't do that.
It's on page 39.
39.
You're laying in that position, but I use the prayer, the previous lesson, the prayer,
Oh, okay.
when I lay like that. And that's to discover what your needs are, and what, and I may say the word wrong, covenant, but it's, what you need. Like, we all need a house to live in. But I don't need a grandiose house that's going to put me in the poorhouse because with payments. I need a house that I can afford, that's going to give me a roof over my head. I don't need something that's so grandiose and that. And that's where I think he talks about covet, to covet something. I may not be saying that word correctly, but it's knowing what our needs are and knowing what we don't need, and that. So I sort of incorporate that prayer with that particular position. The needle practice, I do that. I don't do it as religiously. I just do it whenever I think of it. And I also have gotten to the point where I can be sitting and it'll come to my mind, but the needle's not present. And I'll just close my eyes and I will visualize a needle and visualize how that needle looks, the size of it, the eye of it. And it'll, once it gets in my mind, it's still.
Right.
And then I ask it to move, and sometimes it just stays still. But I feel that since I'm able to visualize it, that is a point that I feel is kind of important.
And that the way you're describing it sounds almost like an experiment that I read about a while back, in which two, I think it was basketball teams, were given an assignment. One team was to go to the gym on a daily basis and practice for a certain length of time daily. The other team was told to just sit and think about, making baskets. And what happened was, when they at the end of after a certain time period, the two teams were brought to the gym, and their success rate was almost the same. With one team just mentally going through the maneuvers, and the other one actually physically performing. Interesting. So it sounds to me like that's what you're doing.
Well, that's one of the things that athletes, like figure skaters, visualize, they learn the routine and everything, but then before they get ready to perform, they visualize themselves doing it. And they're able to do better because of they put that thought out there, visualizing what they're doing to a certain degree. And it's just like I tell some of my students, visualize pizza, cheese and pepperoni just coming out of the oven. And they'll say, oh, and I'll go, is your mouth watering? And they'll go, yeah. I go, well, that's what visualization is, because I'm trying to teach them something like with the piano. You don't have to look at your hands to play it. Visualize your fingers and where they're at on the piano to move. And I use that example of the pizza or hot, fresh chocolate chip cookies just coming out of the oven. And kids will start to feel that sensation that they feel if they're actually eating it. So, but anyway, those are the exercises, Penelope, that I do. I don't have a particular favorite one that I can think of as being a favorite. I do think that as you incorporate and use them, and there's probably some that you're using that you aren't even in the book here, that you apply, is just being a better person, and thought that came to me just now is with your job, you may have been necessary to stay there because the people that were there needed the light that you give without you even realizing that that's what you were doing. They may have needed your presence. The same thing with Harriet, and sharing with her friend that she had a job that she loved going to now, and she wears costumes and get paid for doing what she loved. Each of us is in a position for a certain reason, and it's not until we feel moved to move, because sometimes by the time we do move, it's already been going on, and that.
Well, it's 8:14. So Harriet, why don't you tell us your favorite ones that you use that so far that you use on regularly?
I'm still experimenting. I haven't the one that I seem to be concentrating more on is the one with the needle, trying to get that needle to move. And I'm just waiting, and you'll know it when it happens.
Yeah, I kind of didn't really get to. Well, I think I did the breathing one, and with the face, with the hands. I did that one, but I didn't stick with it. I didn't stick the whole way out. So I really kind of didn't do the the majority of these last time. But I think that I kind of like this one here, this mirror exercise. And then that might be something good that I can help do with Wazion too. Because he likes to look at himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
So that might be something, I can just give him some words to say. When he looks at himself in the mirror.
With any prayer, at least this is how I feel about it. Any prayer, saying what's printed is fine, but when you make it your own, it's coming more from your heart. And as you
Oh,
said,
absolutely.
rearranging some of the words, those words may give you some, you know, they may cause you to think of something, but yet putting it into your own words, rearranging it so that it fits you and feels right to you, it's coming more from your heart as
Mhm.
opposed to, rote memorization. I remember telling a nun that when I was about, I think it was about in third grade, we had to learn the Apostles' Creed and I kept messing it up. And I finally told her, I know what it says. Let me just put it in my words. These words, I don't agree with some of these words. I can't pronounce some of them. And the nun said, Mr. Selva, go to the corner. And I thought, got out of saying that prayer. Talk to God in the corner. But to me, when we speak from our heart, and it's not some formalistic prayer,
Mhm.
to me, God is hearing it more than when it's in rote. And I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you, but I
Yes,
think
it does.
the
It does.
formal prayers, they're given as to me, they're given as an idea. And
Mhm.
but it's just like when we pray in the group here, and that I don't always remember what I say because it's coming from the heart. It's just words coming out. And
Mhm.
I have found that it just feels better. It's even when, like, Harry, when you pray, or Penelope, when you pray, you know, it's beautiful because it's coming from your heart. It's coming from deep within you,
Mhm.
and how you're being inspired.
Mhm.
With this lesson, there's just another 2 paragraphs, so we
Oh,
can
I
finish
thought we.
this
Oh, I
lesson.
thought we had finished. I'm sorry.
No, this,
I thought we had finished.
yeah, he talks here at the
Okay.
end. Here talks about
Where are we?
clairvoyance.
Where are we?
Clairvoyant.
Page 45, and it says
Oh,
clairvoyance.
okay, okay, okay.
It is necessary that you know that a sixth sense exists. That sixth sense is clairvoyance. This faculty resides in the pineal gland. When you develop clairvoyance, you will be able to read others' thoughts, like reading from an open book. When you become clairvoyant, you will be able to see the soul of people. When you become clairvoyant, you will be able to see the eye of people. And then you will comprehend that the soul is not the eye, that the eye is Satan in us. I'd like to say the eye is ego in us. Anyway, clairvoyance allows us to see what lies beyond death. You will develop clairvoyance totally with the exercises that we will give you. You should practice these exercises. We want you to write us, communicating all your impressions to us. And that concludes that lesson.
Oh yeah, this is pretty cool, just to be thinking about developing, that well, they call it the sixth sense, but we got a whole lot of senses that we that we haven't developed yet. But hey, that just understanding that that clairvoyance is a part of really our reality. That, I mean, this is what we are, who we are, who we always are. And and when we think about it, we have all had some experience where a clairvoyant experience.
Mhm.
So I think that it's it's just something good when we actually plan and consciously try to develop and a new awareness.
Mhm.
Well, it's 8:20. I think this was a good this was a good session. And just to, just let people know that sometimes this is what Inner Haven does. We are a discussion group. We choose how to understand ourselves by what we think and what we say. And it's really important that we know how to articulate our feelings so that what we're saying is absolutely our truth. So don't be don't be worried about us. We are just fine. We are just fine. Another thing that I also want to say is that it's when you meet somebody that you love, and like Sakina, I love Sakina. I mean, I don't know, we've been friends now for at least 7 years.
We're actually like sisters.
Huh?
We're actually like sisters.
We are. And as soon as we met one another, we were instantly friends. Yeah. Instantly friends. I mean, from the moment from the phone call.
Phone call.
Yeah.
Not even seeing each other, just the voice.
And Harriet, I have been Harriet's friend. I don't know, girl. I better not tell how many years. You might get mad about that.
No, I'll say at least 30.
At least.
God bless
at least 30 years. Yeah. So, when you're around people that you love, this is family. We're family, and that's how love is supposed to be. We're supposed to be what's that, all encompassing, trust all of each other, all of the gray areas, all, from up to down, from sideways, from east to west. We learn how to love, trust, depend, support on one another, and that's what we do here at Inner Haven. That's what we do. Okay, so we kind of already did our round table because I didn't realize that we had a whole nother section. So we can kind of skip that part. One of the other things that, what we got going on we don't have anything going on tomorrow, but Saturday I will be working with Kabbalah. And of course I said this afternoon that I would know where we are in the Kabbalah, but I don't. So, I made a mistake. But Sunday, Sakina, you will be continuing with your program of the dimensions. Can you just give a little preview of what you mean by dimensions, especially since we got like 6 minutes.
Okay, dimensions are, they're levels of where we're coming from physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Physically, most of us are living on the 3rd dimension. Height, height, width, depth. Okay, the 3rd dimension, the material. The 4th dimension is the etheric. We might be there spiritually, but maybe not physically. Or, mentally. We can operate on these levels from different areas. Like I was saying, you could be on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and whatever. But we're not on just one dimension. Like we're not just on the 5th dimension or the 4th or the 3rd. It's sort of a like a smorgasbord type of thing where we're operating from. The 5th dimension is more or less the dimension where you're beginning to see more and more beyond. You're beginning to see into people. where they're coming from. You're beginning to see that maybe with this person, I have to be this way and talk a certain way. With somebody else, I can talk about other things. As I was saying the other day, I feel most of us in Inner Haven are more into the fifth dimension as opposed to being mostly in the third. We're still physical, but the rest of us is coming from a much higher dimension, if that makes any sense to you.
Mhm.
The seventh and on, because there's a lot of dimensions, the seventh on cannot be obtained while we're on the earth plane. We can become aware of what they are, but we might not necessarily be able to reach them while we're on the earth plane. We might reach them during our dream time. And we might we're aware of them, but we can't physically accomplish them while we're in our earthly bodies. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but we can, even though we might be in our earthly body, at night when I go to sleep, or when you go to sleep, or Harry goes to sleep, or Andre, any one of us goes to sleep, we can move into that realm. And then when we come back, sometimes I feel when we come back, sometimes we might be a little more tired because we spent more time on that dimension. Okay, but we might have a hard time trying to explain that to somebody. It's just like somebody who is a third dimensional person that all they see is height, width, depth. And you're trying to tell them about seeing beyond what appears to be, you know, telling them, well, this table has molecules in it and they're moving. And they're looking, they go, I don't see any molecules. Well, no, you're not seeing molecules, but you know, and if you have a high enough power telescope, you can see them. But sometimes they need to see it before they'll believe it. Whereas those of us that are operating on the fifth dimension in these physical bodies, I don't need to see it. I just know, I just know that person coming towards me, I just feel something. I'm going to go on the other side of the sidewalk, or I don't want to make eye contact with that person because I just feel that person's coming from a negative space. This other person, I feel the light, I'm drawn more to that person. And that's when we're on the fifth dimension, we can become more and more aware of that. Just if that makes sense. And I am going to have this book that has dimensions in it because it's easier for me to read what they say about the dimension than to try and explain, because I sometimes don't have the words that, or to say it in such a way that it sounds coherent, it makes sense. I listened to myself one time on the tape recorder, and as I'm listening, I'm thinking, God, this person is really crazy. It was me, and I knew it was me, but the way it sounded like the person was not very coherent and knew what they were talking about, But I think I was listening at the tape recorder from a third dimension. I wasn't listening at it, in such a way because I was going to be speaking and I wanted to hear myself speaking. And it was like, I don't know. It was a talk I was going to be giving with Dr. Masters, and he liked it. He liked the talk. He said I did a very good job. But when I listened to it, it was like, I don't know. But that's, as far as the dimension goes, that's what I'm going to be doing and talking about. Because the person who wrote the book, they know more about the dimensions and they're more into being clairvoyant, clairaudient. They're more into that.
What's the book again?
Hang on a second.
I mean, just if you could remember it off the top of your
head.
Right
here. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
I just have to stretch over to it. It's called Beyond Ascension.
Beyond Ascension.
Right. And this is by Joshua David Stone. And he talks about with some of the dimensions, we stay in a certain dimension and there's levels within that dimension. Like, for example, in the third dimension, there's levels like you have your children, youth, teenagers in that dimension, and they see life differently. Adults, senior citizens, those of us with some wisdom, because we've been around a while. It's not that we are any smarter. It's just that we've been around a while. We've experienced some things on this third dimension. And so we're seeing it from a different point of view than, let's say, a little child.
Right.
And that type. So within each of the dimensions, there's like this childhood type of thing.
Yeah, that we were just talking about that yesterday, or maybe it was this morning or something, about have seen things as a child. Seeing things as a child. I think we were talking about that yesterday in Course in Miracles. Well, thank you all for this evening. I hope that we all have an opportunity to come together on Saturday and on Sunday. And with that, would anyone would like to close us out in prayer? How about you, Harriet?
Okay.
Okay.
I turned my camera off because I got one of those messages about my thing being unstable. So I just figured I'd turn it off. That's why I turned it off. I'm just going to keep it off. If we will take a full, deep, cleansing breath, breathing in healing and health. And as we let go all of the diseases and illnesses that we might be experiencing. And let us be grateful that we are able to come together and discuss the many facets of our spirituality. And let us be grateful that we can discuss these things and come to an understanding of another and of those around us. And as we have these discussions, let us become open and loving and kind to everyone we see and we meet. Greet them with a smile, a virtual hug, letting them know that everything is okay. And we are grateful for the times, the knowledge, the wisdom that we gain in these sessions. Be grateful, be thankful. And so it is.
Thank you, Harriet.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Love you.